Alright, let's try this again. Shazam! And I'm still fat. Hola mi gente, that guy Ralph, third favorite YouTuber, new video time, Shazam! Spoiler review. This is the second part to the review. On this one, I'll be diving deeper into my grading system and also what I thought of it overall without feeling like restrained and I couldn't give anything away. So I will be talking about plots of the movie, how it ended, the scenes. So if you guys haven't seen the film, please exit out now. Go watch the movie and then come back to this video and watch it so you can finish watching what I think of the movie overall and the scores that I graded it. Right? As I said in my spoiler free, I really do recommend it. I recommend it a lot of it, and I think anybody should watch this film. I think everybody will get a joy out of it. If you're a comic fan or even if you're just a casual moviegoer, I think this film would touch everybody in the corazon. Alright, if you guys haven't seen the spoiler free, I'm going to put that up there. But before I go any further, make sure you like this video. Comment what you thought of the film. And also share with your friends because sharing is caring. And also don't forget to subscribe to the channel, That Guy Ralph. And ring the bell for notifications. Alright. Let's start off with the first thing that everybody notices in the movie, which is visuals. And for that, I gave it a 3. The budget of Shazam was actually lower than most of the DC movies. This one actually was close to $100 million, which was low because I believe Aquaman had $160 million. But I don't think they really wanted to risk giving this movie too much money due to the fact that not everybody knows who Shazam is and if it's going to come out. But visuals is what really got hurt in the budget part. The reason why is because there are a couple scenes, like the one scene that really stood out the most to me was when he first learns that he can fly, or he's like floating in the highway, super CGI'd. You could see it from a mile away. Another scene, a little forward from that, was when he caught the bus. It wasn't that bad, but it was very noticeable. Also, the 7 deadly sins, they are very clearly CGI'd, and they weren't bad, but when he's fighting them, you see it again. Also, fast forward again in the film towards the end when the big, I guess, boss fight, you can call it, when the 7 deadly sins and Captain Marvel, I see what I did there, and Shazam are going at it. Very noticeable. Like he grabbed the one scene where I forgot which one it was, grabbed his cape and kind of like slammed him, super CGI'd. And also when Freddy becomes one of the heroes, his CGI was also off. But he was the only one. Everybody else seemed pretty good. Other than that, for it to be a low budget, I thought the CGI and the visuals overall was still pretty good. The costumes were really good. And this movie did a good job with trying to purvey it being in Philly. Shout out to Philly. Let's move on to characters. Characters pretty much is what's going to make the movie go. If you're going to like it, if you're not going to like it. And for characters, I give it a 4.5. Shout out to my girlfriend. I was originally going to give it a 4. But the reason why I gave it a 4.5 was because my main gripes about it was more Dr. Savannah. Let me get this out the way. Mark Strong did a fantastic job purveying Dr. Savannah. But I just felt like he was very rushed into getting his powers. He was used as a puppet from the 7 deadly sins, and that's where he gets his powers from. But I feel like him getting the power was very rushed. Like, they would just add in maybe an extra 5 or 10 minutes of just backstory for Dr. Savannah. I feel like you can get a better connection with him. Also, the 7 deadly sins they're self-explanatory. And even though they didn't have the same image from the comics as they did in the movie, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. And it fit very good for giving it a more of a serious tone for him. Dr. Savannah's backstory, pretty much abused by his father and his brother. And he tried to chase magic his whole life after realizing he wasn't pure at heart for the Shazam mantle. And this turned him into like a Mr. Crocker effect. If you guys don't watch Fairy Odd Parents, but Mr. Crocker had a run-in with the fairies, and knew they existed and spent his whole life trying to find them. That's what Dr. Savannah did, which is very similar to the comics, but in the movie, I guess they had to chop it up a little bit, but I feel like they should have just added an extra 5 or 10 minutes with his journey. They kind of just explained it briefly. You understood it, and which is why I'm giving it a 4.5, because it still wasn't that bad. The other characters I want to speak about, now we got Dr. Savannah and Mark Strong out the way, the Orphan Family. The family that Billy Batson actually ends up in is fantastic. Darla's fucking adorable. But the one who stood out the most, obviously you've seen him in the trailers, was Freddy. Freddy, I thought, was a great companion to Billy, and he balanced him out and helped him find his powers. The one thing I liked about Freddy was the one scene when Shazam is going overboard with his powers and not doing what he should, and what Freddy's telling him, like, hey, you should start helping more people. Freddy tells him, like, look, you have a gift that I wish I had, and if I had it, I'd probably be doing different with it. I spend my whole life and every day trying to fit in for people, and I still don't get noticed. I thought that scene was really good, because you can see, when you start thinking about when he says it, I can see how that's possible. But overall, I still was fantastic. And of course, the last character I want to speak about is Shazam, aka Billy Batson. Played by 2 different people, but the same person. And going into this film, I always wondered, how would they do the same character but 2 different actors? And you can tell that Zachary Levi and Asher Angel really spent a lot of time together. So you can see how Billy and Shazam are 2 of the same people. And Billy's development in the movie is fantastic. He's a rough kid, but he's still pure at heart, which is why he was picked by the wizard Shazam. And that is important, because that's what Zachary Levi explained in an interview, where they wanted to keep rough around the edges but still pure at heart, and I think they did a great job. He was rough on the edges due to circumstance. He spent his entire, pretty much most of the movie, trying to find his mother until his foster family came in and helped him. But when he does find his mother, it's not what he imagined. He tells a story about when he first remembers when he got disappeared with his mom. They're at a carnival. She tries to win him the tiger, and she gives him this little like navigation ball that he held on to since he was small. So he tried to find her, and he even did this whole like cop car scene, and runs into her, and to find out that she knew he was missing, saw him from a distance, and said, peace out. And she explains the same scene, but in 2 different aspects. And you see the purity of children versus the reality of things. And I think that was fantastic. That showed something that DC gets right, which I'm going to go on to the next thing, which is flow. Flow, pretty much how the movie goes. And for flow, I give it a 5. The reason why I give it a 5 is because, as I was explaining from Billy and his mom, it's a serious thing. Foster families, children who don't have homes, is a serious thing. And it's not about DC films being darker. It's about DC films giving you real life problems in comic book characters that are fictional. And they did a great job portraying that. Also, a lot of humor. You're going to laugh throughout the whole movie, and it wasn't forced humor, which I loved. There were some films that I've seen in the past from other companies, wink wink, that I felt like the humor was forced and was not needed. But in this film, it went with the flow, it went with the characters, went with the story, went with the scenes. It was never forced, and I gotta appreciate humor that isn't forced, because I think it makes the overall flow of the movie very good. There were some slow parts of the film, and even the slow parts got overlooked by some of the humor and storytelling. Like one of the slow parts, obviously, when he first becomes Shazam, it took a little bit, because we all knew it was going to get there. But that wasn't too bad. Even when him and Freddy first got into the argument, that was a little bit of a slow scene, because he distanced himself from the foster family and Freddy. But even then, you see a lot of Billy being distant. Even as Shazam, he just wasn't having it. Even though he was so hyped up to be an adult and had control of his own life. Yeah. But even the slow parts told a story that made you feel for it. Like even when he saves Mary from the car about to hit her, it just overall just great. Right?
Invisible! Invisible! Hey! Nice outfit, dipshit.
And the last thing, the most important thing, story. For story, I give it a 5. main reason why I gave it a 5 and made it so perfect was because it was straight out the comic book. A lot of movies that tend to stick to source materials, I tend to lean more towards. But not only that, but this is a story that anybody can like. It's a story about a little kid who's in his foster family and just wants to find his mom, ends up getting powers, and he's put in a position where he can do greater than what he was given. And I think that was phenomenal. They did tweak from the original comic source only by a little bit. Like, for example, Dr. Savannah isn't the first villain in the 52 run by Johns. It's actually Black Adam. Shazam! But they do explain Black Adam exists. Oh, phenomenal. But I can see why they want to save him. You know what I mean? It's kind of like an appetizer. Like, Dr. Savannah's cool, but is he Black Adam cool? Of course not. So they explain he exists in the universe. You know he's there, but you don't see him. And I actually think they're going to lean into him coming to Earth trying to find Billy, learning that a wizard found a new champion, and I think he's going to just try to overthrow that whole spew. But Black Adam, great. I was actually waiting for him to show up in the movie. That's my only downfall of the movie. I didn't see him. But the story was just like the comics. And this really told the story of a kid who gets powers. And obviously, the kid isn't going to know what he has off the rip. He's going to take some time to learn what he has. So showing the scenes of him and Freddy going through the trials of what he can do, what he can't do, I thought was great. Also, he abuses the powers a lot of it, charging people for photos and taking money when it's not necessary. I thought that was great because let's all be serious. You get some powers like that, you mean to tell me you're going to do good off the rip? No. And that's where Freddy came in. Freddy balanced them out. But I think that story alone was told just like the comics, but anybody could enjoy it. So for my grading system, out of 20 points, this is a 17.5. I thought this film was fantastic. I do highly recommend for a lot of people to go see it. There are 2 end credit scenes. The one's a mid credit scene with Dr. Savannah in the jail cell, and he runs into Mastermind. And I knew Mastermind was going to eventually come out because you see him in the Rock of Eternity, but then after the 7 deadly sins get loose and escape with Dr. Savannah, I think that was going to tell where this was going to go. I actually think my prediction for Shazam 2 is going to lead after Black Adam solo film, but I think Mastermind and Dr. Savannah are going to find a way to get a hold of Black Adam, and he's going to be the villain for Shazam 2, or he's going to work his way to Shazam, and maybe that might go a whole different route for Shazam 2, but that's my prediction. I don't know. One of my favorite scenes is, of course, when the foster family gets their powers and become the Marvel family. I thought that was fantastic. I thought that was a cool scene, and I think a lot of people seen it coming because the fucking Funko Pops released the Pops early, even before the movie dropped. But I think seeing it was still like, oh my god. And you can see Megan Good. Who doesn't like Megan Good? This movie was great. A great addition to the DC family. I will be completely honest with you guys, and I'm not lying to you. I think this movie was better than Aquaman. Aquaman I thought was fantastic. It was everything I hoped for. And Shazam was the same thing and then some. And this movie was just great overall. They gave us a comic book movie without changing too much stuff, keeping it straight from the comic book, which is all we ever asked for, and made it enjoyable where anybody can see. And that's what I think they got right. And this is the real Captain Marvel. I didn't like Marvel's Captain Marvel, but this Captain Marvel, OG Captain Marvel, Shazam, was where the movie's at. So, that was it. Tell me what you guys think, and which Captain Marvel won it for you. Was it Captain Marvel, or was it Captain Marvel Shazam? Tell me in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, because sharing is caring. Rub your nipples, stay sexy, and laugh because life is too short. Alright, Shazam! Peace out.